Good afternoon, everyone. We are busy with Learning Unit 6. I'm recording this session for you in order for you to catch up and find this week's insight. So, we completed Learning Unit 5 in our last live discussion, and I've recorded Learning Unit 6 for us to listen to in preparation for our live session next week, Monday. Now, assessment planning is what the focus is here, and we're going to look at assessment topics, question instructions, and marking rubrics. Now, firstly, it's important for you to note that at tertiary education or higher education, we have assessments that are outlined and planned according to Bloom's taxonomy. Now, Bloom's taxonomy is the foundation of all our assessment questions. It was developed by an American educational psychologist named Benjamin Bloom in the 1950s, and we use it to structure all our assessments using this tool. Now you'll see it escalates if you look at the bottom of the triangle that's depicted on the slide. It starts from remembering, and I think if you recall from school, you'd start with questions that are easy, memory type of questions, where to find something, name something, and list something, for example. And then it escalates to a bit more complex. And you'll see over the years as you progress in your higher education journey, you'll start in first year with the basics, and second year will become a bit more complex, third year will become a bit more deeper thinking, and so on. So the more you progress, the deeper the thinking or your complexity is what we expect of you to be able to think and unpack questions slightly differently. So this means that there's a set of principles that are useful for understanding cognitive complexity, and it demands of us the assessments and the instructions that are based on certain words that we use to describe or design these assessment questions. Now, cognitive here means that there's a mental process that happens in learning. And this tool, designed by Benjamin Bloom, helps us to structure those cognitive discussions, and it gives us 6 levels of complexity, as you can see. So, as I've mentioned, it starts from remembering, then it builds on to that in terms of understanding. This is where you make sense of information. Then you start applying that information. Perhaps you use that information in a new form. And then it splits into the final 3 that speaks of create, evaluate, and analyze. So this is where critical thinking happens. This is where we start to see how deep can you think and can you unpack it. And in most cases, give us the clarity in terms of your own understanding of the information that you've received. Now, various assessments, you'll see even your POE for this particular module, it's been scaffolded in such a way that it starts from easier questions in Project 1. In Project 2, it will escalate to a bit more complex questions, and then your summative, ultimately, we want to see are you able to articulate more critically. And it's based on this tool. Another key aspect that will become quite interesting for you is to start thinking about how you analyze a topic. Now, when you get an assessment for all your POEs, assessment, exams, tests, you're going to have to find a topic and analyze it. And that means that you have to read quite a bit. So it involves reading through an assessment carefully, using active reading skills that we talked about in the last session, and to ensure that you can identify the following aspects. Now, there's 3 aspects that I want you to consider in topic analysis moving forward for Project 2. Number 1, you have to consider the answer and writing format that you are required to use. So you have to carefully follow the instructions that's given to you. Number 2, what is the topic, the focus, or the subject area that you are required to engage in or with? And then finally, consider the specific instructions about the scope and the depth of your answer. For example, how long should your answer be? Which concepts must it cover? And how much detail must be provided? So you have to consider that breakdown. These 3 key things will help you analyze a topic. Now, there's an example of a table that was introduced by Seversky 2020, And it says that you have to consider stage one, where you identify the required format. And then you make notes, giving yourself a summary of what the format is. Then you split your column into three and the following stages. So after you've identified the format, the next three steps become crucial. Step two, identify the main topic. Step three, identify each instruction and put down the verbs that are used to describe it. And then the final step, identify uh, delimiting word for each verb. Now, when you do this, you're going to give yourself clarity as to what exactly the do's and don'ts are for this particular topic, and it will help you have a breakdown of what exactly it is that you need to consider to approach that specific project or assignment or portfolio of evidence, etc. Another key assessment tool is what you need to be cognizant of, and I think you've seen these in your portfolio of evidence preparations, is a rubric. Now, a rubric is a common tool that we use as an assessment guideline to allow the students to know what exactly they will be marked on, and also to provide a guide for the educators to know what they are marking, or to fairly mark the same across for all students. Now, there's specific aspects set within the rubric that is key that you just need to be mindful of when you see a rubric, so that you understand how it will be used as a tool to assess you, and also how you can use it as a tool to ensure that you are aligning with everything that that particular assessment requires you to do. Now, the rubric itself is split into columns. It could be 1 till 4, it could be 3 columns, it could be 8 columns, depending on how intense or complex the question is. But ideally, the example on the slide at the moment just wants to show you the key core aspects of a rubric. We've got at the top standards, the level of performance. We've got on the side where it explains what the criteria is that you will be able to align with. And then at the bottom, the descriptors that you need to think about. Now let's start with the criteria on the far left-hand side. You'll see a column on the left-hand side that lists the criteria for you. All that criteria means is that it's specific aspects of the assessment questions. It's going to give you, for example, the structure of your essay. It's going to tell you, let's look at academic writing skills. Let's look at the argument. Think of it, if you were going to bake a pancake, it could be list the ingredients. Does it taste? What is the taste? What is the texture of the dough, etc. So the criteria is that outline that you want to look for as an educator or as a student. What are the core things that you need to deliver by the end of that particular project? Then we have what we call the standards of performance, and that's at the top. So that's generally an indicator for where your marks lie. Is it for 100%, you need to do exactly this particular performance? If for poor performance, if your lecturer gives you a poor mark, generally this is uh, it would be 5 or 0 or 1%, depending on how the criteria is indicated. And generally, from where it's indicated, you would be able to see or to know if you're going to pass or fail and why you failed. Now, the why part comes in with the descriptors column. You'll see the bottom right arrow. This is where the characteristics are explicitly unpacked for you to know if you pass this particular assessment, you have done X, Y, and Z. If you failed it, it indicates for you this is what you've done. If you pass it over and above with distinction, it will give you an explanation, a descriptor of what you've done to do extremely well. So basically, that performance are indicators that help you understand what you've done and what your performance output is, and the level descriptors give you the explanation related to the marks to tell you the depth and the scope. So the depth is the content that was covered, and the scope, how much did you unpack that content. And it will tell you if you pass or fail in the end. So basically, this is what a rubric's role is. It's a two-folded tool. The educators use it to mark and assess and ensure that they align, and it's designed with all the key aspects that the marker will look at. And the student uses it as a guide to ensure that they do everything that is expected of them. Now, the designer of this module in particular wanted to describe another key aspect in the form of a delicious burger. Now, these are core aspects when you're writing that you need to start to think about. I think the understanding of it was to give you a image that you can always think of to start describing how you need to put your assignments or essays together, and what the top layer all the way down will impact, and how you need to start looking at it, and I guess in a fun way. So I'm going to attempt to give you the clarity of what this picture should depict, and also hope that you do further reading to unpack and understand and practice it to put it into further understanding for yourself. But the burger illustrates five layers of writing. The first is your topic sentence. Now, generally, when you get your burger or you order one, the topic sentence is indicated for the top bun, the, the bun at the top of your burger. And this depicts the first thing that you will see, or the first thing that you will bite into, is that top layer of your burger. Now, of course, the burger is layered with many other delicious aspects, but the top topic sentence here and the top part of your burger is for you to understand what is the first thing that you need to think about, that you see, that you will bite into when you start doing the research for that particular topic. What is this topic about? The second one is the evidence in the middle of your burger. Now, in the middle, you'll have your patty, you'll have cheese, you'll have the garnish, depending on what type of burger you've ordered. But there is a middle section that is the evidence of the paragraph itself. So when you start writing, there's supporting evidence and analysis of that evidence. So once you bite into your top layer, your teeth will sink into the middle section, and that's where the the fun part, or the yummy part of the burger actually is, and that's where you get the depth of what type of burger you're actually eating. And so that center part is crucial for you to have the depth of what you are writing about. This is where you will expand and have sentences that help you explain a bit more. So this is where the clarity comes and the descriptive words come in. You unpack and provide evidence of what exactly is embedded and defines or gives you this particular burger that you are eating. The last one is the bottom layer of your burger, and this is to keep your burger together. This is where you conclude with sentences that bring everything together. It's going to keep the burger together. So, as your topic sentence was the opening, the bottom bun is the closing, and it keeps everything together. It avoids that everything falls apart. If you lose that bottom patty, generally you've lost the structure of your burger. And so the idea is that you should conclude in a strong way that keeps your essay together. I hope this helps you think about and understand that we've got that topic, the depth in the middle, and the concluding parts that you need to be able to break apart and almost compartmentalize and give it into sections to explain. But basically, what this wants to depict is that there's clarity in your writing that needs to be evident for us to see in your structure of an essay. Now, just for clarity again, an essay needs to be planned. So you can't just wake up and start writing. It's a planned attempt that goes into it. So in an essay, it's a written piece that is well organized as an argument or an exploration, depending on what the instructions of your topic will be. But it's a formal expression of your thoughts. It's used in academics, in journalism, in professional context, where you have to write down and present your ideas, how you analyze those ideas, and how you interpret those ideas. And so, generally, what we want you to start thinking about is that it's a planned process. It's not something that you just think about, wake up and start writing. It's a planned process that goes through that burger analogy that we just talked about. But the essay can also take on various forms. We can have a persuasive essay, an argumentative essay, an explorative essay, a narrative essay. So you have to be clear on what exactly it is, the type of essay you should write, to adjust and align the burger explanation with that particular request. So if it's an argument, you're going to find evidence to prove your argument, prove your point, and write it in an argumentative manner, considering the topic sentence, the supporting evidence, how you analyze it, and how you conclude your sentences. So it becomes a bit more complex once you start thinking a bit deeper around how you write your essays. I include a picture that is an example of an outline of an essay, and this becomes crucial for you as you progress with various assignments. That there's an outline after you've thought about the burger analogy with the topic sentence and the concluding sentence, and how you analyze those sentences. Putting it together and breaking it down in a skeleton essay is crucial for you for your planning. Now, generally, I think at school level, you would have learned about an introduction, and you would be familiar with the fact that your introduction will have this opening that hooks your reader. It will have some background information where you argue the immediate action that your essay is going to take. Then we split into what we call the body. This is where paragraphs give us some detail, the depth. And if you refer back to the burger analogy, it's that central content or components that give us the juicy parts of this burger, that help us find the tasty bits, that give us actually the context and the depth of what your essay is about. And then finally, we're all aware that we need to conclude in the end. And this is where we summarize and keep it all together, bring it together, and reiterate the important aspects of what the essay was about. So, this is basically an outline that you should keep in mind for the upcoming essays that you are going to write. And this is basically the core of what Learning Unit 6 is about. It's about you knowing that there's various assessment aspects that are coming up, to shift your mind into start planning your writing and not just dive into your writing as such. You're now going to build on what you've received for Project 1 and unpack it moving forward. And in order to unpack it, you need to be able to plan your writing, skillfully think about your writing, be able to articulate what your rubrics expect of you, as well as plan your outline. Plan, design a skeleton so that your thoughts are clear and can be in a certain order, logical order for us to interpret or mark you accordingly. I hope that you found this insight or summary interesting and opens your mind and shifts it towards where we're working towards in Project 2. And I will unpack the next steps in our live session next week. If you have any questions, please do email me for further depth. Thank you.